after that. Although Tuesday, the day I'm expecting him back, is April Fool's Day, so I'm not sure what to expect. Joining me now on the West Her Hotline, Expected Buffalo founder Chad DeDominicis to talk some Sabres. Chad, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Okay. I wasn't even sure earlier today, just by instinct, like if the Sabres are mathematically alive, but are they dead? I realized the problem I was having was that I was dead about it all. But, 10, 11 games left, 9 points. They can't be eliminated left. Not every game is going to be Columbus against Detroit. So you went ahead and tweeted like that they were still in it, and I assume with some sarcasm, but I just want to say, how dare you?
I think the money puck chart that they put out all the time, they actually got themselves back on the chart, though, today. They're back at 0.1%, I think. So
I was looking for that. I didn't see it, but the other day I noticed they were not even shown, which is what made me wonder. They're right back in it. Chad, how will this season be for you, assuming they do fall short, for how annoying it is? I mean, there's the accumulation of the years that just that becomes so much of how we react to it. It's been so long. But won't, with the 5-on-5 play and, Thompson's year and maybe a few other things, a couple of other guys having career years, this might be right near the top of seasons in this drought just you can't believe it almost.
Yeah, it's up there. I mean, it's not as bad as other years, I guess you could say. But the year they missed by a point, it was just like the goaltending. I don't think it's like that this year. A lot of their 5-on-5 numbers as a team, for the most part, are not great. Like their expected goal share, they're near the bottom still, like 28th. Their shot share, they've always been near the top, and that's because early in the season they were spamming, low danger shots, and that's kind of carried them. But even that has started to dip. But it's really the scoring and the goal differential. Goal differential at 5-on-5, they're 15th in the league, so 51%. They're one of the highest scoring 5-on-5 teams in the league. They're actually second in the league behind the Capitals, which is insane. But really, it's we're back again. The goaltending, they are 27th in goals against per 60 at 5-on-5. So it's the goaltending, the defense. It's those things that are back up again. And of course, special teams, power play, penalty kill, runs hot and cold. But really, it's the power play from the very beginning has been just dreadful. And this is the second year in a row of that. And that, maybe for me, is the most frustrating thing is that's what you hoped would improve under Ruff. And then you brought in Appert, which really bringing in Appert, you're kind of getting what they had in the AHL, but that's a different conversation. But, yeah, I think the power play really is the most frustrating because if that was just maybe a little bit better, maybe you don't lose 13 games and you're maybe on the playoff spot, but maybe instead of 9, and we're joking around about 0.1%,
right? Maybe
you're 4.
Right.
And, if we get lucky here, get on a run, and everybody ahead of us is losing games, but yet here we are.
It's still not close enough to be that, yeah. The power play thing, it really is confounding with the new head coach, but also the talent is kind of obvious. Last year, too, that you would think you would have enough scoring talent to be able to, I don't know, maybe this is naive. I guess it is. Overcome whatever structural deficiencies you have.
No, it's not a talent issue at all. And, the best example of it is look at Dylan Cousins, who looks like he could not be a power play player at all on this team. He goes to Ottawa for 2 weeks, all of a sudden he's this power play merchant and has all these power play points. And even the one power play goal Ottawa scored against the Sabres, oh man, that's a nice play. You rarely, if ever, maybe once a month or once every 3 months, see that kind of play from the Sabres. And, after in the beginning of the year, said, we're not going to sit and just feed Tage for bombs, but really the strategy is just we're just going to give it to Tage and Darlene and shoot and hope, and we'll mix in some nice plays here and there. And it doesn't work. They're not scoring, obviously. They're expected goals per 60 at the power play is 28th in the league, so it's pretty bad. I think there was a joke at the beginning of the year. They were actually a negative goal differential team on the power play at one point. That was very early in the season, but still, that was the thing. So, yeah, pretty bad and frustrating with the talent that they do have.
You definitely don't want that. And when you have that, you're at a game and the Sabres are playing somebody who takes a penalty, and somebody around you hear say decline the penalty, and then you have the whole eye roll thing and just the whole dance. Chad DeDominicis, my guest here on WGR, on goalies. Luukkonen, is this just more throw your hands up? This is goaltending in the NHL. We know the randomness of it is just impossible, almost impossible to overcome. What better explanation would you have for his season?
I don't think I do, to be honest. The way I put it, we've done a lot of work with goaltenders over the last 3 years on the site. Anthony's done a few things about kind of the randomness of it. Last year I really dove into stuff because of the Levi thing that blew up on their face. And it's really, there's only 3 to 4 goaltenders in this league. I think you need to do that because unless you're getting one of the top guys, which you're not, you're just getting another version of Luukkonen. In some sense, it could be a more expensive version. I mean, the way the goaltenders are getting contracts right now, $4.75 million is not that bad for a goaltender, especially what he's giving you. So really, you got to hope that he bounces back. A lot of the smart people on social media kind of point to Gustafsson in Minnesota. Maybe you get that track. Really good season, got paid pretty bad last year, and now he's back to having a really strong season again. And that's just the up and downs of goaltending. And you just have to hope that the down years are not as down as this season is for him, and it's more in the middle, and then your up years are closer to what you got last year. And, you kind of just ride that wave. And, of course, improving your defense will help that. Reimer takes over right now, and maybe that's kind of the frustrating thing, too, in the beginning of the season. If you didn't waive Reimer and you kind of just kept him and Devin Levi didn't drown for a month, maybe you have a couple more points on the board because he has shown he's plenty capable. And funny enough, Anthony's research project 2 years ago, Reimer graded out as one of the more consistent goaltenders year in and year out of what you're getting. And we're kind of seeing that this year. He's not great, but he's not terrible either. He's kind of just in the middle of the pack, and that's what he is once again for them this season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's, Chad, it's so easy to pile on the Sabres, and there are reasons to do it. These goalie moves they've made for several years, I've had a hard time being critical. Not that I'm wanting to be necessarily. It's just sort of, I get it. I thought Comrie, I get it. And you made the point that Adams has made, Kevin Adams, and I've made it, that you don't really know what you're getting. You think you're getting this, but you're getting that. And that's sort of the nature of the position. So other than sort of just pushing Levi in right out of college, and maybe I'm not even sure they really expected that to work, but that's what they did, and it cost them last year. So otherwise, though, even paying Luukkonen, right? Even paying him when they did after last year, I guess I want to say it made sense.
Yeah, and it really, if you think about it, like I said, they got in at the right time. Kevin Lankinen was a goaltender who went into camp on a PTO, then got a job, full-time job, got a job in Vancouver off of that.
Yep.
And then 4 months later, he has a $5.25 million contract. You're like, whoa. So, maybe it did make sense to do it when they did. You might not love the 5 years, but that contract isn't immovable. If it really gets to a point where it's not working, you can get out of that. And you have Levi, and they brought another goaltender over. They just signed today, and we'll see how that goes in a few years. But, yeah, it's in the way to get one of those top guys is to just draft them. So, really, it kind of almost like this joking running back joke is you should probably draft a goalie every year because you don't really know. And you just flush your system with them, and maybe one pops out for you, and you get an elite one in there, and then you ride that for 10 years.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, you kind of find the best average goaltender you can and hope you get more ups than you do downs.
Even historically, thinking about the Sabres, what was Ryan Miller? Like a 5th-round pick or something like that, wasn't he?
Pick, I think, 5th or 6th, yeah.
What was Hasek? Kind of a throwaway trade with Chicago. I don't know when he was drafted, but that wasn't a big move when they got him, and he's the best ever. So I'm listening to this take for sure. So one thing I've been saying is just with going back to before the deadline, signing Zucker, signing Greenway, signing Bryson. That leaves Reimer as their only UFA, I believe. What do you think? Right. What do you think of the strategy here? If it can be made into one strategy, like individually, I think, my opinion, individually, I couldn't understand why you would do each thing. Maybe Bryson least of all, but the two forwards. But I worry for just how that means less flexibility in the offseason. And I don't want this to be sarcastic, right? Because somebody could easily say, well, if you're the Sabres, what do you need flexibility for? Like, who's going to sign here? I don't want to sort of settle for that.
Right.
How do you see it?
Yeah, it's a tough path to go down. Because like you said, people don't want to hear it, but it's also, at the same time, it's a real thing. So you have to understand that and appreciate it. And then also the way the no move and no trade clauses in the league that, I guess you could say, gotten out of hand in a sense, that makes it more difficult too. So you kind of have to really attack those guys in a sense that are like Josh Norris or even a little bit younger, maybe, that don't have those second contracts or are RFAs, and you can go look for a team that's looking to just make a swap, like a Bowen Byram kind of thing, something like that. Look for those guys, and that's how you have to go about it, and you have to do it. This team, really, you mentioned flexibility. Like, they can be as flexible as they want to be. There's ways to get out of things. There's ways to make trades. Like, a lot of people, made you believe that Cousins didn't have much value, and then, oh, look what he got you.
Yep.
So you can find your trades if you really want to. It's just how eager and willing do they want to be. What is going to happen with a few guys? Like Peterka is an interesting one who, there's been a lot of rumors out there that maybe there's some unhappiness on his side. I've kind of heard the opposite of that, but we'll see how that plays out. That could just be an agent thing because his agent's a little bit, one of the more outspoken agents, I guess the way I'll put it.
Okay.
So that could be that to drive up that contract negotiation. But that's going to be interesting to see where that goes and what they want to do with him in the offseason. And then that kind of sets up. And then it gets to Byram. I mean, the Chikrin thing that happened, I get it, that Byram's not a UFA this year, he's an RFA, but he's pretty close to UFA status. And, I put a tweet out, if you look at Owen Power, his camp is within, they're right to point to that. And I think Owen Power got a little bit over 9% of the cap hit at the time he signed it. And then 9.4 or whatever percent of the cap hit at $95 million works out to $9 million. Who here wants to pay Bo Byram $9 million? I don't want to pay him $8 million. I don't even really want to pay him $7 million, because the last month has shown that, away from Dahlin, here and there's some good moments, but for the most part, it's been pretty dreadful.
It's buried.
So do you want to pay somebody $7.5 million to $8 million or more to just be a Dahlin partner? You can throw almost anybody there and be fine. So there's some big decisions, but they can be really as flexible as they want to be, depending how deep they want to get into, restructuring this roster.
But Byram worries me. Well, you didn't say you were worried, but he worries me too, I was going to say, because it feels like the kind of player who's good enough, and they traded for him. Kevin Adams has alluded to this trade many times since he made it, about like the hockey trade aspect of it, and I thought it was a fine idea. But if it helps lead them to a conclusion that they should make him the next whatever, all these defensemen they've signed for such long term and for so much money, I would just hate it. Okay, that it's hard, it's challenging to get guys, and here you've got a guy who may or may not want to stay. But especially if I have to overpay him to be the player, no. It's just an easy no.
Yeah, I'm in the same spot, and I get your whole point if they traded for him, and that Adams has mentioned him, but I would not be surprised if he's not on the team next season. I think there's a reason that they're pulling him away from Dahlin randomly. They didn't just do it just to do it when I was working so well. I think they're trying to get an answer on something, and they're probably getting their answer, and it might lead them to do something else. And I think really if it came down to a decision, to be perfectly honest, between Byram and Peterka, they probably lean Peterka, and then that might force them to something else with Byram. And, maybe you swing Byram for a team who's looking to get rid of a top 4 vet. They want to bring in a younger guy and, somebody who believes that he's a power play guy, which I don't think he really is. But if someone wants to think that he is, then, let them take him, let them pay him, and you take the veteran that has a year or two left and put him in your top 4, and then you're on your way.
Assuming you're guess or even, your knowledge on this is right about what they're doing with Byram, it still doesn't work for me, like, looking back at it. Like, the right move, if you had to feel this way, but the right move was to trade him at the deadline, and I got to think that would have been possible. Even with an RFA status, I mean, the guy is young, and so the next team could think he might be a building block and to help them this year. So I don't know. The way you put it, did the Sabres really need this answer on him?
I don't know. I think maybe it's validation. I do think, I'm pretty sure that they had conversations surrounding him. I do know that he was part of the Elias Pettersson conversations when they had that. He was one of the pieces that they were going to put in that deal if that was to happen. So his name was out there. I think they had conversations about it. But I think what their focus was and what they ultimately got done is they wanted to, they identified the core piece they wanted to change, which was Cousins, and that's what they wanted to do. They wanted to change this core, in a sense, send a message, rip a core piece out of there. If you're trading Byram and you keep Cousins, that's not really sending a message of I'm ripping a core piece out.
No, that's right.
So I think they focused on Cousins, and they figured let's get some more clarifying answers on Byram by moving some things around, and then they can, go at it in the offseason. I don't think it's going to change anything. The same team that would have traded for him in March probably still be interested in June or July. So
okay.
I don't think that really hurts them that much.
I wondered about that because, other teams are getting this answer too, right? And that's what I was thinking there.
But some of his numbers, I think, too, there's a couple things. One, there are teams that will 100% believe, it's the Sabres, get him here, he'll be fine. He was a big part of what he was in Colorado on a good team in their cup run. He also has the offensive numbers. So any general manager is going to see his 5-on-5 production. They're going to see how he played on the power play in Colorado, his skating and all. So he has the flashiness where they'll be like, yeah, I get it. His defense maybe isn't that good, but we have a guy here. We'll put him with him, and we'll in a sense surround him and do all that. So I think there's enough tools and there's enough stuff that you can just watch. And of course, points are still a big thing in this league. That will make him still to be a valuable piece in the offseason.
Reminds me of Montour a little bit in certain ways.
A little bit, yes. Yep.
Bring him to us. He's got the Buffalo stink on him. Just bring him over here. We're going to do this. Which team making the playoffs this year, if the Sabres are not to, will be the most annoying? I would say for me, it's been the Islanders 5 different years for this. Just not even that good. I mean, I'm jealous of all of them. I said at the beginning of the show today, it ranges between 31 and 32 NHL teams. Which team will drive you the craziest if they make it?
Probably whoever ends up at wild card 2 in the East, because they're a terrible team.
Canadians?
Whoever, Canadians, Islanders, Rangers. I mean, it looks like the pace right now is 87, but I'm telling you that wild card 2 team is going to be 85 points. And it's going to be ridiculous that they're even in. But they're going to play the Capitals and
maybe win.
I don't know. Right. I mean, the Capitals, I heard you talking about them earlier, and I agree to an extent. Some of their team underlying numbers are more impressive. So, I mean, that kind of leads me to believe they'll be fine and they'll get through the first round at least, especially the team they're going to line up against most likely. Because none of these teams also are walking in with a powerhouse goaltender that's going to really – I guess the Rangers could. But beyond that, I don't really think you have to worry about that. But, yeah, I guess the wild card 2 team, beyond that, I don't know.
That has to be
Blues. The Blues maybe would be annoying because, I don't know, was Bennington going to try to fight people in a series or something like that? But beyond that, it's probably the wild card 2 team in the East.
Yeah, that's it. Ottawa has separated a little bit, and whoever it is, it'll be a pretty easy argument that the Sabres might be better. Bottom line, might be better than that team. Okay, well, let me just ask you honestly: should we still be hopeful?
In the future?
For this season, is there any? I mean, I know what I'm asking by this question, but sweep the weekend, and then what?
That's what I keep telling people. Win both games this weekend. Maybe you get a couple more losses, and the team's ahead of you, and then I don't know if you're sitting 5 or 6 points out. Maybe, but I mean, look at their schedule coming too. It's not the easiest. So, I mean, and this team always does this. They'll get within you get a couple games and they'll lose 3 in a row and we'll let her go with that.
Just like it happened right after the tournament, right? Where like we a little bit talked ourselves into them making a run, and they lost those 2 Canadiens games.
Yeah,
so,
I think like to get to 85 points, they have to go 10-1. So if that gives you your answer,
10-1, baby. That's how these things have to end. They have to end spectacularly. Like the Bills ending the drought with a -50 point differential and just like getting blown out and starting Peterman. Yet that's the year they make it. For the Sabres, it has to be like this. Like the last time they made it, it was a little bit like this. So, all right. Thank you, Chad.
All right. Thanks, Mike.
ExpectedBuffalo.com, Chad DeDominicis.